Hi, what? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Jaysa. We are focusing on awareness, heritage, and trying to bring people together in order to talk about different topics that are going on in our nation. As always, I want to make sure that I am incorporating people that you guys have been introduced to, which is my CEO platform. So I have some new amazing CEOs that will be joining me on this panel to discuss women's history. I have been promoting it on every platform. I've been sharing videos. I did some trivia questions that I was supposed to go live for, but I didn't. My bad. Just to kind of get you guys amped up for this video. Now, in this topic, we will be discussing things that are happening within the nation. I would love to hear different stories that are being shared, as well as kind of touching on some touchy topics that people have different opinions on. Okay, so we're going to do that. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, like, share, comment, and let's go ahead and jump into this. Obviously, you know who I am. I am Jaysa, the host of Just Jaysa. And if everyone else will go ahead and introduce themselves so we can get started.
All right. Well, I'll jump in. My name is Consuala Battle, the owner and managing director of DNC Fleet Servicing. Our mission is to empower individuals and communities to thrive independently using comprehensive resources and innovative tools for self-sufficiency. And one way that we do that is through exposing people to travel. And that is a big deal for me. I think that traveling opens us up. It allows us to experience things in ways that we might not have been exposed to when we get out of our comfort zones and start to see people in their own environments. Kind of opens us up, and I hope makes us a little bit more empathetic to what people are going through. Happy to be here. Looking forward to talking about what it means for me to be a woman in this day and age, because boy, oh boy, things have changed.
Oh,
At least
yeah.
it seems that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else want to go first?
Oh,
I'm looking at Jordan. I wasn't her out, with giving space for whoever. So my name is Shanelle, often going by Coach Shanelle. I am a spiritual life coach by day, by night, in my entire being. I also do other things, but that is what I embody. That is my purpose. That is my calling. I operate as Chanel, as a woman, standing proudly, firmly in who I am. No apologies. Thankful to be born a Black woman. I'm honored to be in this space with all of you beautiful Black women. And then also just knowing, having a conversation about knowing who we are, standing in the truth of that without any doubt, without any understanding. And that is part of my mission and vision in life, is standing in a place supporting women with knowing who they are, using their voice, their divinity, their femininity, and being true to who they are. So again, thank you, Jaysa, for this space, for this time, for your beautiful face. I just love your face. And that's me in the now. So I will pass it to Jordan.
Mine might be a little short. I'm Jordan. I am a birth and postpartum doula. I am also a childbirth educator. I'm also a placenta specialist and almost done becoming a prenatal and postnatal yoga instructor as well. I got into this after having my first. I kind of wanted to dabble into doula work before I had him years ago, but I didn't have that much of a passion to do it until after having him. And so my goal is to just try to help families and help moms across the board, bring awareness to especially us Black moms of the care that we receive pretty much in healthcare, and be as affordable as I can, because doula care can get very expensive. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Jaysa. And that's me.
I love it. Like I told you, we have some amazing CEOs. You already know, you've heard their stories, you've heard all the amazing things they have to offer. But I am curious to see how their perspectives are going to vary on this topic. So just jump in. Obviously, the first question is, what does it mean to be a woman for you? Obviously, no one has to go first, but anyone that has a thought on that.
To be a woman, that's a good question. Because for me, to be a woman, of course, being born as a woman, that's just my understanding, because there's a lot of things that comes with this. the emotions, the femininity that we operate in. So just being able to be a nurturer, to lead in a space of nurturing, to be able to change the world, to be able to soften the world, to be able to just show up as our true authentic self, knowing that we stand in a space that only we can stand in, and that only we were created to stand in. So being a woman is being me, right? That's what I got. And just being connected, being able to bring so many different aspects of life together in oneness and create life, because we are the creators of life. Of course, we wouldn't be able to do it alone, but without our channel, right? Without being able to house and carry life, there will be no existence. So, you know, it's an honor.
Anyone else got some thoughts? I know that's a complex question. That's a good one. I was like thinking of mine. I know, I was thinking of mine like, ooh, I'm not. Okay. No, I completely agree. I definitely don't think I can add anything else to that. There is no way to describe being a woman. It is an experience. It is the embodiment of just being here. And I love the way you put it. That was hands down, that answered the question for me too.
Honestly.
Okay, so the tradition, right? So we have the traditional woman and we have the modern day woman. It has changed drastically over the years. Me and Tony were actually talking about it in the car, and just seeing how it's changed. Obviously, me and Jordan were in the same generation. You and Shanelle are in the same generation, Mom. And seeing the changes just in that short span of time, what are your thoughts? Do you prefer that we kind of take on more of the traditional side? Do you think that the way that we're moving modern times is better? Do you think that, I guess, being here and seeing the change, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about it?
Man, this could just be the show, right? Just this topic could be what we sit on. And I have a lot of feelings about it, because I think for Shanelle and I, well, obviously we're related. So I know her mother, she knows my mom. I'm going to say that even though they grew up in a home where their mother wasn't required to work, that is not the road that they took. And maybe because of necessity, right? They were required to be more out there and be the providers, and they had dual roles. So for myself growing up, the idea of being a stay-at-home mom, or where I wasn't required to be out of the home, wasn't something that really was something I thought about. You know what I mean? It's something that just kind of happened, as a stay-at-home mom, as a woman who doesn't have to work outside of the home. So the idea of, let's say, more of a traditional woman stays at home, is really responsible for how the household is run, taking care of the kids. I'm going to say that wasn't something that I saw. And so the idea of that, I think I've mentioned this before in different settings, that there was almost like a, not guilt. I don't know if guilt is the right word, but almost questioning whether or not it's something that I can't even say deserve, because I don't know if I'm using the right words, but it's just not something that felt natural. And so maybe there was this little bit of guilt, in the sense of, I don't have to, where maybe other people around me do, meaning women that I know, you know what I mean, might have had a different way of viewing it. So going back to your question, traditional versus modern, I'm going to say that for me, I think I've always been traditional. I've always felt like there was a certain line that women needed to kind of toe. And I don't think that I've ever felt the need to cross that line, although there may have been times when I did, but I think it was more or less out of necessity, not necessarily because I felt like that's what I had to do. So if anyone else, I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to hog up the answer. So if anyone else has anything else to say or can relate to what the heck I'm saying.
Yeah, I think for me, I would prefer some sort of like balance, if that makes sense. So, in this stage right now, obviously, like I've got 2 kids, got technically 3. I've got my bonus baby. And with my spouse being active duty military, like it's kind of hard to get out and like be more modern in this moment unless there's good child care and military bases don't have good child care at all. So I think if a woman could create good balance between staying at home for a certain period of time and then as the kids get older, then shifting to doing what she likes to do. Now, some moms like to just stay at home and handle everything, which is fine if that's their preference. But for me personally, I would prefer to be more in this traditional state and in this moment and then transition as my kids transition, because I think the world has shifted to a lot of us women feeling good to have our own power, our own movement, our own money, our own work ethics towards whatever, instead of just being at home and waiting on, or like depending on someone else to kind of fulfill all these other needs. So yeah, so I would say more so balanced, but I would technically prefer the modernized day of a woman. Yeah.
I'm going to take a drink of water, so hopefully you're editing your video. Okay. So for me, it's definitely traditional. And when I say traditional prior to coming over here, right? Because I feel like in the United States, we've been given this mixed up message that a traditional white woman is ruled by a man. But prior to us coming over here, in our role as women, we stood side by side with our man, but we still took care of that home. We balanced the home. We make sure our home was well as the men created the foundation. So that's where I'm at in this space, is being traditional. I remember, and I'm gonna tell you this every time, Consuela, she told me, you need to know your role. I was upset back in the day when I was operating out of I was operating out of survival. And so I was like, what do you mean know my role? Like I had a whole attitude and everything. Like, I don't know who you talking to. I know my role. I mean, I probably was not for 15 years, it still comes back. So I'm just being honest. But in this day, I'm clear on what she meant. Like there is a role for a woman to follow. And in the modern day and age, we feel like, I'm going to speak for me. In this modern day and age, I feel that we have been taught something opposite of our true calling. I feel that we have been taught that we have to look a certain way, that we are not to trust our men. So we have to go out here and say, oh, we have to have all this money or we have to be so independent. And that's not how we were originally brought into this world as a creation, as a culture. So hit me with the traditional. I ain't fighting out here for these feminist rules to be wanting to work. No, I'm gonna take the home, because the home, it's some work. It's some work to take care of, and it's work to be the balance. As she said, there's balance definitely, but to be able to support your partner as they step out into this world, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy you have to put out. That's a lot of voice you have to use. That's a lot of body you have to use, because you have to make them feel good. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Keep me in a traditional role. Everybody else wants it otherwise. Hats off to you. But that's me. Me and Suela in that same generation. Keep me in the home, honey. I'm gonna take care of the house. I'm gonna cook and clean and wash everything. No, y'all can have it out.
I want to bring out something, but my child is sitting here, so I won't even go there.
I don't even know where we're going.
Well, I'm just saying, when you get it, you know what I mean? It's like we are brainwashed into thinking that we have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you don't, when you realize that there is an agenda to telling you you have to be independent.
Yeah.
When you realize that there's an agenda attached to that, then you can start to say, okay, wait a minute. Because let me be kept. You know what I mean? That does not mean that I am bullied or that I can't make decisions or that my opinion, my counsel isn't taken into consideration. But because I understand the dynamics that are associated with my husband and my role as his wife, you know what I mean? I don't feel the need to get that confused. I don't feel the need to be what society claims, especially Black women, because, you know, I can say this and I know you're trying to maybe include a lot of different people, but I'm going to say this
Please
because it
understand
comes
this channel is for
right.
the most. We're
Right.
real
Well,
here.
I'm just
Go
saying
ahead.
that white women, and maybe even, let's say every woman but Black women, are taught how to become a wife, right? Or are taught that they can bring something to the table, but it's not required. You know what I mean? Like, I can have my side hustle, but it is not required for my household to run. You know what I mean? I'm not put in the position to where I have to then take on that responsibility and also be the one who's running the household. That's a lot. You know, just think about, and I'm going to just use this. So in my household, let's say, or let me not even use my household. What I saw growing up, because my mother was married, not my father, but she did remarry. And I remember her responsibility is the inside of the house. His responsibility is the outside of the house. That's what I saw, you know what I mean? And I can understand that, you know what I mean? So I may help outside, but I'm looking at my husband like that's his job, right? I wouldn't expect him to do certain things. It's not me. Please don't say it's me. I hear it. Is it saying it's me?
Nothing's by accident.
I mean, I love that song.
Song.
Yeah, I don't believe.
I know.
But I say all that to say, just
I don't know.
yeah, something's happening.
Oh, is it me?
I can't tell
Is it
who.
me?
It doesn't show who it's coming from.
You don't hear
No,
that?
don't.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear that? You gotta be me. Where is my?
And you use this in your that's a little music.
Okay.
Transit.
Sorry. I don't know who did.
That's all right.
Sorry.
No.
Wrong,
Yes,
right?
and I was talking, but my thing was muted, so y'all didn't hear me.
Oh, you're talking. We can see your mouth moving.
Anyway, woo. Anyway, yeah.
Closer to your dream. That's what
No,
you're
I
saying.
completely agree with all of you, and it's funny because most of my corner knows y'all. I've talked about this at least in the past couple weeks. My adjustment. So I went to school. I've been in school since November of last year, and I just never stopped. And something I talk about on my channel all the time is I associated my value with what I acquired. And for me, that was always success, which is why I was always putting myself back in school because it allowed me to feel valuable. And once I started my career, I enjoyed being a teacher. I did. However, I hated the people, which made me lose my passion for what I was doing. The environment was just horrible. So when I had Marvelous and I wasn't able to go back to work because I ended up moving, I didn't mind not going back. I just wanted to figure out where I fit, what I enjoyed, and it I guess I did choose to be a more traditional woman with me going on to maternity leave. Me and Tony did discuss about me staying home for the first year. And I was cool with that. When it happened, that's when I started to feel like I wasn't valuable anymore and that I had nothing to bring to the table and that I was becoming complacent because I didn't know what do I have now? You know, I've been in school for so long. I was working. I worked 2 to 3 jobs while I was in college. I was constantly fueling my value to my level. So now that I'm in this position of modern woman and traditional woman, I am learning, like we pointed out, my role, as far as taking care of our son and making sure our house is good, but also fighting or forcing myself into the position of working and being more modern as well as being a mom. And every time I get into the position of trying to find my career or find my footing out back in the world, I fail or I lose motivation completely to the point where I'm just hurt and I feel like it's something that I'm doing. When in reality, that's not my reality anymore. That is something that I had to transition through. That's something I had to address and change, but I don't want to because my normal is working, is taking care of myself when I have been put in a position to just take care of my kid. And my husband does work. We're fine. Financially, we're fine. And that's usually where a lot of women in my position have to go back to work or have to figure out how they fit back into the world is because they need to help to take care of the home. But seeing now that I am now in a position to just be my role, it's different. It is a challenge. I have, crazy enough, alignment is really huge for me and I keep getting aligned in certain things, but I have come across so many women that have been stay-at-home moms for years. Like someone I interviewed not too long ago, she has been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And talking to her and getting her perspective and hearing the different things that she's gone through in order to feel secure in her new position, it has been very interesting. And I'm very grateful to have been put in the position of meeting different people that are going through it. And Jordan, you know, we talked just yesterday trying to figure out because you're in the same bracket as me, age and getting new to this and everything. So it's interesting to understand from my perspective as well. So I can't say I can pick because I am still in the process of battling. Okay, do I want to be this modern woman? I want to go out and buy my kids some random gift that he doesn't need, but I'm also really comfortable with sitting at home eating bonbons while my husband goes to work because I know I'm capable of taking care of our kid. Like he's starting to dance. And if I was working, am I going to see that? No. So I think that it's definitely where you are. And mom, like you pointed out, I always saw women working, that it didn't stop with my generation. I did always have that example of seeing women work. So that was my platform. That is my foundation. So I can't really say which one I want or where I am with it. I think that something to kind of flip and I guess go into my next question is with women nowadays, right? So we have seen the trend, I think most of us have seen the trend, where women are saying their standard when it comes to men and how they want to be courted. And there was the list of places that they're not willing to go. And from my perspective, as a young tenderoni, I don't appreciate that. I love me some Red Lobster. I love cheesecake factory. When I saw the list, I was like, so what kind of standards are these? What?
Right.
And I think when we think about modern in that sense, it takes away the respect of a woman. It takes a lot. I am learning with my husband, I am learning how difficult it is for a man to take that step. Growing up, I'm thinking y'all just out here doing it because that's what's put in our face, that you're just the talk of the town. But in reality, men have a very hard time taking that step with us. And then you come at them with these crazy standards. I get if you don't want to go to McDonald's, cool. Wendy's is just as good. But if you're doing all of this, it's pushing us backwards. And now we're taking the role of the woman who is willing to step out, willing to be vulnerable and allow the man to be masculine and show what he has to offer and court you because you're saying that's not good enough. I get it. Everyone has standards. You're able to have standards. But I think the modern woman that at least gets the spotlight is removing our femininity. And Shanelle, I talk about that workshop all the time on my channel because they really did open my eyes as far as how to move as a wife. You know, everyone knows it's not a secret. I've been married before. And that experience for me, seeing it now, was completely different. I was dominant. I was. I can admit that. That was who I was. But I didn't realize the issue with it. So now that I'm in a new space that I feel feeds into me much more, I think about the things I'm seeing as far as our lovely women telling these men that they're not worthy because they don't have 6 figures. So my question being, again, having 2 different generations, for me growing up, seeing that the standard is so high and being categorized as a woman that men don't want to approach me prior to being married, don't want to approach a woman like me because they believe that the standards are, going to be high. With you guys' generation, was that something you faced? Were you guys constantly dealing with, I guess, the categorization and men being hesitant because of the stereotype that was around them? I guess.
So now you want to go first?
I want to make sure I'm clear on, if I don't answer your question, forgive me, just know that it's because I'm not 100% clear. So I was hearing you say a lot of things. And the first is a response to how the younger women are showing up, right? To me, when I look at it, I don't look at the woman per se. I look at how out of balance we are. We're not in alignment, right? And what I think is there lacks guidance. So, of course, there are all these, and they're not only younger women out here saying that they require this, they require that. But the truth is, that's what they've been taught. That's what they've been taught that matters. So there's something's missing. We're just out of alignment. And to see that, it's like, okay, how do we flip that back and look internally how we can show up differently to teach others to show up differently? Naturally, in this day and age, I feel like people are being taught what to look for in the now. How can they help you in the now versus thinking, okay, we're going to get old. We're going to get old. Who is going to be there for you to, prayerfully, nobody has to have a diaper change, but who's going to be there to help you change your diaper? Who's going to be there to help you raise your children, to create a family? Who's going to be there to build a legacy? People, we aren't teaching our young girls. We're not teaching them that. And then they're growing into older women and they're not teaching those under them that. So I don't believe that it was I don't think anything's changed, honestly. So what you are seeing now is what was present back in our day. There's just cameras and people are more vocal. And that's because, again, we're just out of alignment. And a lot of times we were not taught because a woman was out here doing so many things to where now, moms taught in fear and it wasn't always expressed. So moms didn't always say, go do this, go do this, go do this, but we watched. Right. So it's like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to have to do all this. We're not going to do this. And we didn't prepare those coming under us to say, this is what you look for in a man. It's not about where he can take you. What type of effort is he putting in? What type of legacy does he have? Envision yourself in having children with him. Are you going to be able to raise a family? Is he going to support you? Are you going to support him? So again, I don't want to say there's any difference because there were, when I was coming up, girls who looked at dudes for money because, like, what can he do for me? Again, it's just more vocal and there's more cameras that's recording everything. But we're just being taught out of alignment. And sometimes we don't even know it. So that's why it's continuously showing up and showing up and showing up. So hopefully I answered your question.
Okay. I'll just add a little bit. I think what you're saying is right about us not being taught. So if you are with, let's say, your mother is not married, so you really don't get to see what it looks like to be in a relationship, right? Or you don't get to see what it looks like to be in a good relationship. One thing that your grandmother told me, and it's something that I always think about, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before a couple times, but when I was little, and let's say I went to a dance, your grandmother would tell me, if a boy asks you to dance with them, because it takes a lot of effort to get up and ask you. And so the things that I heard, the things that I saw, were never to get over, were never to use them in a way, you know what I mean, to mistreat them or to get over on them. And so hopefully, I'm proud to say that none of my daughters, none of you guys are materialistic. I don't know if that's good or bad, but none of you guys that I see go into it looking that way. Now, you guys may have other issues, but materialistic or looking in terms of what can you get from in a way other than it's mutual. So I'm just going to say that basically the same thing Shanelle said, in that what you see, what you're taught comes across, and again, you're right, Shanelle. I really hadn't thought about it. Again, my circle necessarily may not have included girls who were about that, but clearly Gold Digger, that definitely is from, I remember that being, songs and things like that. So the concept of a woman only using a man for what she can get is not new. But it does blow my mind when I hear how extreme it is. You know what I mean? To the point where a first date has to be more than a cheesecake factory. You know what I mean? Or just you're getting to know someone, and so yeah, it's nothing new, but we do need to figure out how we can correct how we see things and how we move. So getting in alignment would probably help.
I have one thing to add, just from the younger side of you. I would say I do agree that it's not taught to us. Like for example, with my dad, he's always kind of shifted it to me that not to like really depend on like a man for anything. So and he always kind of praised me like getting out, trying to have my own hustle of, oh, she's working 2-3 jobs, or she's been on this job for so long. Jordan goes out there and gets it. And then like on my mom's side, which they were separated, so I mainly grew up with my mom, in the home with her. And I mean, she worked, and then she got married, and my stepfather wasn't that type of man that provided for his household. And so it kind of became him just like being like a couch potato, pretty much. And then while she's still like busting her butt to still work and reaching out for like family to help out with whatever else she had going on, to keep the household maintained. So that's all I saw. So I think for me, sometimes it just gets uncomfortable being in this like new position, because I literally went from working 2 jobs, saving money, to moving here. When I moved here, I was pregnant. I ended up quitting because of just work environment. And I just been home ever since. So sometimes for me, it's just a little uncomfortable not being able to go out and get my own, because to me, that's just what's been kind of pushed. So I just get in this like uncomfortable state of like, I'm itching to get my own money. And so for me, I just try to twist it into a passion, and then have something that I do here and there, instead of just like constantly working and being able to like be home and take care of the kids. So that's my feedback on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
can I say something to Jordan? Okay. Hey, Jordan. I definitely honor you for speaking your truth. That's definitely honorable. What I want to say is that you are doing a lot being a mother. There is a legacy that you are creating. That's a lot of work. And from my understanding, listening to my husband, that's one of the most important things from a man's point of view, is a woman creating and continuing on his legacy. So don't think that because you're not out here working this traditional job, you don't have an important role. Your kids' success lie on you. Your husband's creating, right? Building, keeping the walls up. You have the opportunity to create the next generation of, I don't want to say Einstein, because I know there was, whoever we are, creative, smart engineers. Like, that is your role and your responsibility. And don't feel like it's a burden. A lot of times we aren't taught that we are one. So we believe that we have to do things separately, and that's not the case. But again, that isn't what you were taught or shown. So make sure you, in the process, you're not shaming yourself, and you're not judging yourself, and you're not feeling like you're supposed to be doing something other than what you are doing. And when you watch your children grow and evolve into young adults, you'll understand, like, this was my role, and this was far more valuable than me sitting at a job. Now, not to discredit people sitting at a job, because I do. I don't clock in, but I work every day. But I've had to learn that my job is fueling my passion without any judgment. So you have an important role, and your babies are young. And your husband needs that from you. So he's trusting you, and that's a job in itself. He's trusting you to say, I'm going to make sure our legacy is going to continue to grow and change the world. That's a lot. It's not anything simple. It's not anything to discredit. It's not like you're not out here getting your bag. Your bag is making sure that your kids are carrying on your legacy and that you can pass down that wisdom and that knowledge and that understanding of who they are meant to be. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love it. Okay, so open door. We all have different experiences with our fathers. Okay, I hope no one makes uncomfortable. I knew my dad. I know my dad. I have a much better relationship with him now as an adult. Growing up, he was military, so he was gone a lot. I knew my stepmoms. They're cool. But until I got older and I kind of learned where I fit in with his life and he realized where I needed him with mine, we didn't have a father-daughter relationship. So now that I'm older and I do talk to him every day, we're learning, oh, you have anxiety? Me too, and I'm 26. So, learning about certain things. I wonder how my decisions or how my life would have changed if I was closer to him earlier. And this isn't adding on to the absent father trauma, because I don't like to claim all of the trauma, because if I go through my life, I'm sure we can all find something to attach trauma to. But I do think that when it comes to being a woman, there are certain things that really, just being a kid in general, you need both parents. For example, with my son, I am the nurturer. That is my job. And my husband has to be the disciplinarian. He has to be. So when we are dealing with very simple tasks like letting him fall, we all see it. My go-to is to make sure he's okay, and his is to make sure he's tough and gets back up. With this experience being raised by my mom, I am strong and I'm learning about my emotions. And that is me, just because I am not good at being vulnerable. I'm learning, but I wonder if having my dad around more often, if I would have gotten, trying to find the best way to say it. If I would have gotten more of a space to be vulnerable and know how to be vulnerable with a partner, that I've missed. Okay, so it's not going where people usually think that your father is going to teach you to be strong. No. Even talking to my dad now, he does not know how to communicate with me as a female. He's very rough. Sometimes he's talking, I'm just like, I'm still a girl. And I think that missing that took away a lot, because again, my example was a single mom. So I am independent. I am very strong-willed. I am not easy to talk to sometimes. But those are things I have to own. But because I didn't have those abilities to be vulnerable with my dad didn't know about people I dated. He didn't know what I was doing in life. He didn't know until I either told him, or again, I'm in my 20s and we're now having conversation. So again, I guess my question would be, with your experiences with your fathers in the different ways, how did you see their presence? How do you think it would have adjusted who you are if their presence was different?
That's a good question. I got to simmer a little bit.
Sorry, that wasn't on the paper.
Well, I can. Well, for me, I did not have my father at all. My dad was in jail my entire existence. Just got out last year. And there were often times where I thought, what would my life have been like if I did have my dad? But sitting in this space now, nothing is by accident. I'm totally clear on that. I would not be who I am if I did not go through those experiences. So the resentment I had for my dad prior to, not that things don't still come up, the little girl within me starts to have her feelings, but I am understanding that everything happened as it should. I probably would not have had my children if I would have had my dad 100% present. I cannot imagine my life if I would not have had my children. But then, knowing my dad and who he is, I can only think of how I would have been if he would have been in the house. I probably would have been a mess, right? So I think, again, nothing is by accident. You have to understand things happened as they should have been. Whatever part of our journey of life we signed up for, it was something we needed to learn. So I had my brother, right? I know that was a lot of pressure put on him to step into that role. So in my younger ages, I didn't feel like I was lacking from a father. In getting into my 30s, when I started doing my own inner work, I realized that a father being present and not being present did affect me. I think affected me, right? I was pushing it there, but I don't truly know. Like I can say, well, I didn't have a dad, so I made these men decisions. Of course, fathers support you with knowing what type of man you want. But if your dad's around and he's abusive, there's a 50% chance that you're going to go for abusive male, right? So who's to say that it would have been different, right? And so that's one of the things I'm circling back around is I don't know if my life would have been better with my father present, and I don't want to find out. I don't want to do it over. My part of my journey is releasing the thought of what once might have been, like, oh, well, if he would have been around, da, 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 da. Honey, I probably would have been off the hook. I'm just going to be honest. And again, I need my children. My children have made me who I am. He might have been so up my behind, I wouldn't have been able to create them. And then I might have been who knows, right? So I can't think, or I can think on it. I can't answer what it would have been like with him around, other than I probably would have seen my mom stressed out. That's one good thing I can say. There's a lot of amazing things from being, my mother's daughter, but I didn't see her stressed out over a man. Never once. Now I had to figure that out on my own, right? Like, oh my goodness, what is this? I didn't see her arguing. So me arguing in relationships came from me watching another woman. That's how I learned how to be in a relationship. But I didn't see, so now I'm back to my truth, right? How I was raised in my mom's femininity, which I didn't understand then. I don't like to argue. I didn't realize it wasn't something I wanted to do, but because I didn't see that from my mom. But if a man, my dad would have been present, I'm pretty sure they would have been beefing, fighting, all of that stuff. And then no telling how my life would have looked. So I'm thankful that he wasn't present. I'm just being honest, because I made judgments about what it would have been if he was present. But, other than that, what I've told myself, the whole abandonment issue, my little girl, nurturing her has been supportive and okay, releasing him. Because now as an adult, I'm like, who are you and what do you want? I'm just being all the way honest. I find myself more frustrated with him being around because I'm like, no, you don't know me. And so if I would have been younger, he'd have like, do this. I'm like, who are you talking to? But in reality, I don't. But I don't try to figure out what it would have been like. I have, but I've released that because I'm like, my life would have been different and I wouldn't change it for anything. And I probably wouldn't have had my amazing husband and went through 2 experiences of journeys of what you call love to figure out, where it is that I'm supposed to be if I would have had him. So, like, no. So good riddance to the experience. Like, no, I'm just playing. But I do admire young girls who do have their dads. I do see different things, and I also see things where they're resentful of men because of the way their dads were in their life. So it's really a balance. Like, who knows? Okay, I'm complete.
Well, I can relate
Jaysa, I think you're on mute.
to the same thing. Your grandfather was there, but not there. And I can definitely relate to what Shanelle said, because I think about all the time, just really excited that my mom had the guts, number one, to leave where she was all she knew, from Ohio to California, a place she knew nothing about. And I really feel like having him there in the state that he's in would not have benefited. So let's say if the situation was ideal and he was in a great space, then yes, having him there in my life would have been beneficial. So the things that I feel like I might have missed, do they outweigh what I would have gained with him being who he is right now? Heck no. You know what I mean? My dad is wild. I think about the exposure I would have had, the things he would have tried to introduce me to. So no, I'm definitely happy that he did not have a direct access to me, that our access was limited to phone calls every now and then, that I really didn't have to be around him to have visitation and things like that, because it probably would have been all bad. So I definitely can agree with that. Let me go back to you real quick. So this is about you feeling like strong. So for me, I'm in therapy, and just recently something came up where my therapist asked me to describe what nurturing meant. And I described it, but it never included hugging, touching, things like that. So I don't, just know that, you're dealing with, you're also dealing with that, which you acknowledged, having just one parent. Like you said, there is a balance. There's certain things that a male is going to add to the mix, that you just being around one parent you're not going to get exposure to anything else. You're only going to get my perspective, and my perspective is not everything. We've talked about that aside from this, but I just want you to know that. So being strong, I don't know if that's what we want to claim, you know what I mean? But those are things that we'll learn as we, just kind of get exposed to different things. But just know, yeah, you did not get certain things because I didn't see it, and that doesn't excuse it, but it's just what it is. So I'm happy that you're able to hopefully break some of that. I know that, I'm doing better. I think we had a little bit more than we ever did before. But I mean, a lot of that really is because you only saw one side. You only got one perspective, and you need something else to break that up. Okay.
I'm still trying to like find my word. I think for me, having my dad around was positive, I would say. Of course, like I have I have two other siblings on my dad's side. I'm my only on my mom's. And I think we all have our own like issues with him, which seem like the same. Um, but growing up, I would say he was very present. If I had like, I used to do track, so like he would come to my track meets, he would come to my games when I would do cheerleading, he would come to any pageants I did. We would go roller skating. We would do like a lot of stuff together. So like starting out, he was very, I would say, hands-on. Um, Always at the school, no matter what. And then I think for me, as I got older, I would see him just kind of more occupied with like other things. Like he would either be like super into the TV or super into his phone. Like when Candy Crush came out, that was his game. He was always on it. But I got to a shift of where I felt more not neglected, but like in a way a little neglected when it came to like that conversation and that connection, because he was just so into everything else. We will still have our times we did stuff together, but he just always, he got to a point where my view of him was that he was always busy doing something. He was a mechanic, he was working, he was doing this, he was doing that. On downtime, like he's just in his phone, or like we're not really having conversations. And so I think for me now, as my kids and my spouse, now my biggest thing is, okay, having that family time and turning off the phone, connecting in the house, because they're going to see that as well, of like, it's kind of like a childhood thing of me not wanting my kids to experience the same things as well. Because of course, as mom, you just give them like the undivided attention and everything. So I'm trying to get him to do the same. But I wouldn't say, if he wasn't there, I don't know how things would be if he wasn't there. I don't think my stepdad was really a good example of a man, because he would work, and then he was just kind of like nasty to my mom at some point in time, and I ended up like stepping out and whatnot. So he's not a good example to me as what a man should be. My dad was different. He's never done anything like that, to my knowledge. But
Right.
he always seemed like he took care of what he needed to take care of when he would date and whatnot. And he's not married and hasn't been married, but he would date for a super long time. Um, and I know the last one that he was with, she was kind of like trying to like on him, and get like whatever she could out of him. And so I think for me, he just kind of tried to teach me the woman role in a sense, but still like before just kind of push the Jordan, she's making her money, she's doing her thing. So yeah, so I would say he was beneficial. I think he should have been more open, more being able to show more like empathy and understanding and being more vulnerable and being more open. Um, Sometimes if I call him, and my biggest thing with him is he doesn't understand like boundaries at this moment when it comes to like having kids, um and just kind of like doing what he wants or saying what he wants because he's grandpa. um but I was to say overall he was beneficial. So yeah.
That's good. That's great.
Mhm.
Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
I had to take the mic out. First of all, I'm sorry. This has been a really rough topic. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sending some counseling sessions in this space. Anyway, okay, so to kind of switch gears, something that me and Tony have a lot of conversations, but when I think about friendships, Chanel, you brought up an example that I've heard with mom giving you advice and being rude with you. I know Jordan, like I said, I talked to you yesterday. But when it comes to women and their friendships, I know for a fact, at least I can admit, that I have either not been surrounded by people with quality advice or good intentions. And I know at some point I was just irritated and didn't want to deal with someone. So I didn't give my best advice. Do you guys feel that as women, we cannot be genuinely friendly? Do you think that there are some points in that friendship where if there is no, I guess, result or something we can get out of it, that we
That
don't
is
put our
such a good
best foot
question.
forward?
I think I a funny story. So I had a friend. I met her when I used to work at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we were like this. We were like this for years. We would go on girls trips together and everything. Like she was probably gonna be like godmom to my kid. Like if something happened to me, my kids are going to her. Once I moved here, things just like shifted, and I don't to this day I don't know what it was because she just like kind of fell, just like ran away out the blue. um I think she probably wasn't. I feel like part of it is maybe jealousy in a sense because I have moved, I got married, like now I'm having kids. She was a little bit older than me, so she's like big sis, but none of these things were going on for her, and she wanted those things as well in her life. But none of it was, going on. And so I feel like maybe jealousy was a part of it. And then also, we used to like be available for each other. Like if she needed $20, I don't mind lending $20. I know I'm gonna get it back. But once I got here, it got to the point of, well, I can't really like just give, because I know they say like don't give what you can't. What is the saying? Don't give what you.
It's like, right, what you
Yeah.
can't just give away. I know what you're trying to say. It's like don't borrow or don't loan more than you can just give. So the idea is that you
Right.
don't expect to
Exactly.
get it
Yeah.
back.
And so my thing
Basically.
was, okay, now like we're extending the family, still trying to like furnish the home and like get whatever we need to get for the baby and whatnot. So I just wasn't in that position to do that anymore. And then after a while, I just didn't really hear from her anymore. And I had my baby shower, and she was trying to like help planning and games and whatnot. And she had the invitation and everything, and then she like didn't show up. So I text her like, hey girl, I missed seeing you today. Like, I haven't seen you since I moved. So like I was looking forward to seeing her. And she hit me with her and her mom are sick, but looking on her social media like she's all out and about. So I'm like, okay, now she's lying to me. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I just said, okay, if she's upset, she's upset. I feel like we were close enough to where she could voice her opinion to me, or voice her frustrations to me about our friendship. But I don't know, to this day, I don't know what her problem was. We don't talk anymore. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes people try to get what they can get out of friendships, and if it's not benefiting them, or if their lifestyle isn't like yours, then they just don't want to be around you. So, or they start kind of finding ways to ruin your life in a sense. So yeah, that's my take.
So I have an understanding, right? Everybody in our life is a reflection of us. Sometimes that's hard to see, right? So one of the things I know for me, I didn't see my mom with friends at all. My mom was a go to work, go to church, this type of person. What I'm learning and hearing is how mothers have shown up in relationships with women has been passed down to, their daughters, their nieces, their nephews, whatever the case is. So I think that sometimes women look for friendship relationships with expectations, looking for that person to fulfill something within them that they have not identified or searched for yet. And then it's easy to become disappointed in another woman when they aren't able to show up in a way that they need to show up for themselves. Because remember, you attract who you are. And even though that can be an uncomfortable experience or truth, you have to look at it with a different lens. So, I'm not the type of friend that's going to call and check on you. I'm just not. That's just who I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not your friend. If you call me, I'm going to show up for you. But because I'm so present in what's going on over here, that's just me. It doesn't mean that I don't value you. It doesn't mean that I don't consider you my friend. It just means that I have so much going on. And I think that in spaces where my experience, when women are looking for other women to complete them in a place that they are lacking, it's easy for them to judge me, right? And assume that I thought this, or I was being funny acting or something to the case. And then, our relationship dwindles, and that's okay. Friendships come and friendships go. Experiences, growth comes and it goes. But to be a friend is to be a friend to yourself first, to figure out what it is that you need, because whatever you're putting out energetically, it's going to be drawn to you. So if you need somebody to remind you that you need somebody, they're going to show up in your life, and they're going to remind you that you need somebody, to where when they're not present, they're going to hurt your feelings, right? But if you need somebody to be a friend who's going to elevate you, that person is going to show up. They might challenge you. And then because we have so many things going on internally that we're working on, we might look at it differently. Like, who do they think they are? And that's just me talking from experience, what I've grown through. But when you become a friend to yourself, it's easier to draw those people in, and then it's easier to realize who isn't meant to be in your space. That way you already, once they step even a little bit, you go ahead and create those boundaries, you push them back, so that your expression and understanding of friendship isn't skewed, right? You won't think that all women are this way or all women are that way. You'll be like, I'm able to see it, and I'm okay with releasing it, and that person just wasn't meant for me. So when it comes to friends, I think friends are blessings. I think they're needed. There's places you can't get without friends. You just have to be clear on what friend serves what purpose. There's some people that can stand on the street, some people that can come in the fence, some people that can come on the porch, some people that can go in the house, right? They're all different levels of friend, but they're not meant to serve the same purpose. When that's clear, we won't get our hearts broken so much in friendships and feel like friendships are a facade or, they're one-sided. You'll be able to say, okay, this served its purpose. I learned more about myself in this experience. I know what I invited into my space as a friend, right? Because to be a friend is to be a friend. To have a friend is to have a friend. You have to know what one is first. So all that to say again, friendships are amazing. You just have to know that there cannot be any expectations on friendships. Everybody's different. Everybody is going through life. Because like Layla, I can go months without talking to her. And it doesn't mean that, she's any less than or she doesn't care about me or I don't care about her. And it doesn't mean that if she calls me or I call her, we're not going to be present for each other. It just means we got life going on. And it means that, there's times where I'm like, I remember going through interventions. I was like, I don't have any friends. I felt that way. And I was like, wait, Chanel, what type of friend are you being? Because I don't reach out to people. So I had to shift that. Like, okay, start just checking in on people. I'm not spending 10 minutes like, girl, how you doing? But
10 minutes for you.
It's like, let me tell people so somebody can check in on me since I'm feeling void in the space. But that's my experience in understanding the friends.
I got to. So
you got more.
I'm okay with that because what I'm learning about myself is I didn't realize how much it takes for me to be around people in a group. I did not realize that. So it is draining for me to have to entertain or now my small circle, you know what I mean? Like us doing our little, when we were there for grandpa, I could do that all day. You know what I mean? Because it's my family. I feel safe. But just the mix and everything, I'm not at that point yet. So it's draining for me. It's hard. Like Shanelle said, I am not that person who calls. I remember some people's birthdays, but we're not really into birthdays like that. So, I mean, just little things that I definitely can acknowledge that people who have tried to probably be my friend probably are like, she's not a friend. But it's not that I'm not a friend. I just I think that goes back for me to the whole nurturing and me not being really aware of what people need. Like not identifying that my friend might need me to call or my friend might need me to come. Now, if they said, come over, that's one thing. But just that thought, oh crap, I haven't, talked to and like Shanelle said, Jordan, you don't, be happy you don't. But we have so much going on right now. It's, to go and take a bath, you know what I mean? And I'm not being funny, but, those little things, that's a win for me because there's so many other things going on. The bandwidth that my therapist always uses, it's gone. I have little to none. So I understand what you're saying. That's always, when I tell you, that's always on my vision board. That's always on my list to have friends, but I don't know what I'm doing really to get them or if I really mean that when I say that, if it's just something to say, you know what I mean? I don't even know if I got family. Do they count as friends? You know what I mean? I have I talk to Anthony every day. I think he's my brother, but he's my friend. So yeah, but you were talking about women, so I don't know.
No, it's
work on that because I really sometimes am unaware of how my lack of involvement comes off. And it's not to be mean or because I don't care. I'm just not thinking. So I feel, Jordan, I'm thinking about you and I don't know what your friend might be going through. You know what I mean? It could be what you said. It could be that you guys, because you guys are in different places, that she's just kind of falling off because maybe she can't relate to some of the things you're going through because she's not going through them. Or it could be that she's going through something and you're unaware of it. You're not privy to it because of however they choose to deal with it. It could be so many different things. So like Shanelle said, maybe not that you're taking it in a negative way, but don't take it in a negative way. You know what I mean? Because it may have nothing to do with you. And it's just you're feeling it because you know what I mean? You're feeling it, but it might not have anything to do. We can work on that. I'll be your friend, Jordan. Right now, I ain't gonna be going. I have to send you a 2-minute text or something. I don't know.
No, something I wanted to grab from you, Mom. Safe. You threw that in there. You didn't feel safe. And that was something that I can say personally I can relate to. And it may not be the same way, but when it comes to friendships for me, whether they were gone for a reason or a season, a lesson, whatever happened, because I can come up with so many different friendships that I've had over the years that dwindled out. It is what it is. I'm not holding on to it, thank God, anymore. But for a period of time, it hurt because I processed it as, like you pointed out, Shanelle, expectation. I had expectations. I feel like I'm a great friend. Overbearing is all get out. Like I want to hang out. I want to talk. I don't want to talk all day either. That's not me. You can shoot me a text. But for me, understanding that friendships were coming and going was huge. However, until I got to this point as of this week, I counted it as a betrayal. And that friendship ending, it was for some reason that no one told me about. So I'm like, we were good one day. I'm in the dark. Now you're gone. And it hurt. So I resonated with the safe aspect because it was like I didn't want to put myself in a position to befriend someone else and they're gone. Or it doesn't work out. And, and it sounds weird, but to a certain extent, I treat my friendships as a relationship. Technically, they are a relationship. They are someone you are choosing, and that person is choosing you to be in their life for a reason. And it's always been very difficult. And again, I want friends, and I understand exactly what you're saying, Mom. To a certain point, do I want you? Do I? Yes, because I want to say that I have someone outside of my husband and my family to go to with my issues. But at the end of the day, do I need to put that onto someone else? If I'm incapable of taking care of it on my own, do I want to put that on someone else to where it may be too much and that's why they're leaving? Maybe it's something I have to process and be more self-aware on the things that I'm doing to trigger someone else. There are so many things that I'm learning now to understand why certain friendships came and left. But I can always sit with being safe and feeling confident that that person is going to show up for me the way I know I will show up for them. I'm very transparent now. I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't. If it's not to go eat, I probably don't want to go. But that is just me. You can always come hang out with me. I'm cool to come to your house and we can relax, we can chill. But being aware now on the feelings, I'm more aware that maybe those friendships ended because I was looking for them to maintain my safe space and be my comfort and not break that trust and not giving those people the space to make mistakes, have their own opinions, be themselves and have their journey with me instead of making sure their journey was set in stone before they even became my friend. So I just wanted to point that out because it really did sit with me because I completely understand, and acknowledging it out loud is a completely different feeling than when you're just sitting there like, oh yeah, no, this happened, that happened, and not accepting, like you pointed out, Shanelle, the things that you're going through in order to understand why things are happening. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be real with this. I was feeling some type of way. I didn't want to think that it was a reflection of me. So as y'all were talking, I'm thinking about like, okay, I can process that. I just lost a friend not too long ago. And with that, I can say I can acknowledge now that it was because we're in two different places and we probably shouldn't have been friends to begin with. But because I am so focused on trying to have friends and build a community and a village for future events and just life, I ignored it, or I found a way to make that person fit. And it wasn't something that was there. It was constantly showing me, hey, this isn't it. No, we're in two different places. Every time that conversation comes up, it's a dead end. But I feel like when we get in the mindset of doing things because we are trying to fit in with what's expected of us, especially as women. Women are supposed to group together. We're supposed to have these relationships. We're supposed to do all these lavish things together, that we're putting ourselves in positions to be with people that aren't doing anything for us, even if it is for a season. I think that that is something that I am now accepting and learning and not trying to force myself into, because I may not be a friend person. Tony questions me every day. He's like, do you even like people? And the truth is, no, I don't. I'm just not. I like, I like this. I think this is why I've done this segment, is because I enjoy that. But this is it for me. I do get overwhelmed. I am not good with a lot of different people. I don't go to movie theaters because I'm just uncomfortable. It makes me feel very out of place. I have no control. So I think when it comes to friends, it really aligns with my question on, do we do things out of genuinely wanting to, or does it have to have some result, something I get out of it? And if I'm being honest, yes, it usually is because I'm getting something out of it, and it may not be materialistic. It's usually security. It's just having someone that I know isn't going to leave. Oh, that's so it's so
Yeah. But you know what I also think? So we have to definitely be, that's why healing is so important, because energetically we carry everything, even if it's subconsciously. So what people tell themselves about being afraid or fear, that is always going to come up. So we can go through 50 million relationships, friendships, and see in the other person where they didn't show up. But in reality, we already created that. We told ourselves, this person is not going to show up. This person is going to hurt our feelings. This person isn't going to do that. And it's going to happen. Whatever you put out into the universe, it's going to come back to you, and it's going to continue to validate. This is why I don't have girlfriends and but you're walking around with that. You're carrying it. It's a heavy load that has to be given away. Like, you know what? This isn't what I desire. But then you also have to sit with it. Like, what have you told yourself about other people as to why you're afraid to have them in your space? And until you get to that space, you will always have the experience of people coming and going, and feeling that they didn't show up for you as they were supposed to. But in reality, they showed up for you the way you invited them into your space. You invited them knowing that there was going to be a time limit. You invited them knowing that they were going to disappoint you. You invited them knowing they weren't going to show up the way you needed them to show up. It's the law, the universal laws. It's going to happen. So we naturally as women have to get rid of that thought that somebody's always trying to get over on us. Somebody's always going to be doing something. Somebody's going to try to make us look, to make themselves look better than us, and just be okay with what comes. That way we can authentically accept friendships without conditions. We always want to be unconditionally loved. That's in every relationship. It's just not with our partner, with our husbands, with, whatever the case is. It's with everybody, and it has to come with no conditions, but it does. Subconsciously, we always are carrying something. So I say that to say all of us have had experience with relationships. We have to look at, what are we carrying subconsciously? It's going to show up always to validate our fears. We got to be like, no, I'm deserving of a friendship. I'm a great friend, because subconsciously we told ourselves we don't deserve for some reason, and that's the own work that we got to do. But that's why it shows up that way.
I'm sorry. I know this has gone on much longer than I had expected, but I do want to, I guess, close it with, being a woman, we know, is hard. There are plenty of topics that we can continue to touch on, and it could be, probably should do this all month long, but it's important for both sides, men and women, to understand the other, and to understand that everything isn't malicious. Understand that we are all learning. We all may be women. We all may have certain experiences and a foundation, but ultimately no one knows how to do this. At least that's my opinion on it. No one knows what they're doing. We are learning as we go, and we are willing to do stuff like this to let the other woman know, hey, I actually liked your shirt. I just don't know how to control my facial expression. Stuff like that. It's the smallest things. But I think that continuing to have conversations like this and building awareness for not necessarily just our history, but how we can control our future, because we know history repeats itself. So if we're not correcting it, if we're not acknowledging the things that control just ourselves being self-aware, we're going to have the same patterns. Like you pointed out, we're going to keep doing the same things. So I appreciate you guys, for one, coming on and even sharing your experiences. I know for me, it was very difficult talking about certain things, because I'm like, wow, I didn't think that when I wrote the question that it would come out the way it did. But everything happens for a reason, and it is important for us to share our very diverse experiences. So again, I thank you.
Thanks for having
and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Jaysa.
you.
Of course.
All right.
But as you guys know, just Jaysa, we are transitioning. We have a new platform coming. I will continue to promote the different months. May is coming up, obviously after April, which will be Mental Health Awareness Month. So I will have another panel. This post, you guys will see the different things. You already know how I do. All the information for these amazing CEOs is on our website, audacityofwomen.com. I'm just appreciative. That's really all I have. Make sure you come back next month. You check out all of our Saturday videos. You check out the new podcast that's going to be on every platform. And make sure you check out these amazing women. Again, they all do something different. They all provide something for our community. So please make sure you support them. I am Jaysa. This is just Jaysa. Until next time, bye.